The late afternoon sun cut across the polished floors of Summit Jiu-Jitsu Academy, where every student wore the academy's pristine white kimono with pride except one. Darius Miller, 19, stood at the threshold, dressed in worn sweatpants and a faded t-shirt. His frame was lean but composed, his dark eyes scanning the room, meeting a dozen puzzled stares. The air shifted when Darius Carter, the head instructor, stepped forward. Tall, muscled, and built like an aging champion who refused to fade, Carter's gaze narrowed. "We don't accept people like you here," Carter announced, his voice slicing through the room like a blade. The dojo fell silent. All eyes turned. Darius didn't flinch. "This is a place for discipline," Carter continued. "For tradition. Not for kids who can't afford a proper uniform or understand what this sport truly means." Whispers echoed between students. Some smirked, others looked away in discomfort, but no one intervened. "I paid full tuition," Darius said, voice calm and steady. "I'll have the GI by next class. I just want to train. That's all." Carter stepped closer, towering over him. "This isn't a social program to keep kids off the street. This is Summit, the best of the best." Darius stood tall, quiet, unmoved. The instructor's scorn didn't seem to reach him, not really. What trembled wasn't fear, it was restraint. The tension cracked like thunder. Carter turned to the class with a cruel grin. "Let's teach him why we have standards," he said. "Come to the mat." Darius hesitated only a second before walking forward, stepping barefoot onto the mat. The students gathered into a ring. Phones emerged from pockets, an impromptu spectacle. The camera lenses were already watching. "Attack me!" Carter ordered, dropping into a defensive stance. Darius shook his head. "I'd rather learn first, Sensei." "You're not here to learn," Carter snapped. "You're here to serve as a warning." He lunged, one fluid motion. Darius didn't resist, he took the fall. His body hit the mat with a sharp thud. Laughter erupted from a few corners. Carter held him down, applying pressure to Darius's elbow in a joint lock that drew visible pain. His face remained unreadable. "This is why you don't just let anyone in," Carter said. "Some people should stick to basketball or hip-hop." Beneath his shirt, no one noticed the dull glint of metal, a pair of military dog tags. They slipped momentarily from his collar before vanishing again. A flicker of truth hidden in plain sight. Darius stood back up. Calmly, his voice didn't waver. "May I try again?" Sensei Carter looked stunned, not at the words but at the unshaken spirit behind them. That night, while others left laughing and sweaty, Darius stayed behind, mopping mats, scrubbing the showers, folding wet towels. Discipline. Carter had barked, handing him the dirty mop. Alone in the silence of the locker room, Darius tucked his dog tags back beneath his shirt. He glanced at his phone. A photo of Leon Brooks, his late uncle, stared back at him. A man once revered as a national jiu-jitsu champion. A man whose career was dismantled by Carter's lie, false steroid accusations whispered to the right people. The scandal never stuck, but the damage had. Leon had trained Darius in secret from the age of 5. Not just technique, but patience, strategy, silence as a weapon. Darius didn't come to Summit by accident. He came to finish what his uncle couldn't. The next day, during a break in training, Rachel Kim, a quiet but respected purple belt, approached him outside by the water fountain. "You're not a beginner," she said. Not a question, a statement. "I'm just here to learn." Darius replied, the same calm mask in place. "No," she said. "You're here for something else. I've seen Carter break stronger men than you. But you haven't flinched. Not once." Darius hesitated, weighing her. In her, he saw something his uncle once told him to watch for someone who sees beneath the surface. "My uncle trained me," he said finally. "Leon Brooks. You might know the name." Rachel's eyes widened. She did. "He was the best we had," she whispered. "He still is," Darius said. "Through me." He turned to walk back into the dojo. Rachel followed. A war was brewing, one they both knew could no longer be fought in silence. beneath the flickering light of a Southside basement gym. Sweat hit the mats like rainfall. Carlos Reyes, once a feared grappler in his prime, now ran this forgotten training space with a quiet sense of duty. When Rachel arrived with Darius that night, Carlos paused. Mid-training, wiped his hands and simply asked, "Who's your teacher?" Darius hesitated, then said Leon Brooks. "He was my uncle." Carlos's eyes didn't widen, but something shifted. Then let's get to work. By day, Darius scrubbed toilets at Summit Jiu-Jitsu Academy. By night, he transformed into something else, entirely measured, focused, relentless. The basement gym wasn't pretty, but it was honest. Carlos dissected his technique, tore down habits, and rebuilt the boy into something Carter could never predict. At Summit, Carter continued his routine humiliation. Discipline Miller. When you earn that, maybe we'll talk about technique. He had no idea Darius was absorbing every move like a spy in enemy territory. While Carter plotted his public takedown of the YouTube kid, Darius was preparing a blueprint for poetic justice. And when Carter signed him up for the beginner division at the regional tournament, laughing about how he'd been knocked out in the first round, Rachel and Carlos shared a quiet look. "He has no clue what's coming," Carlos said. 2 weeks before the tournament, an administrative correction arrived in Carter's inbox like a thunderclap. Darius Miller, originally signed up as a beginner, had prior competition records under his full name. Youth Division, Junior League, 3 gold medals, all verified, all real. "What is this?" Carter muttered, scrolling through the attachment, his pulse quickening. Impossible. But it wasn't. Tournament day arrived like a storm. Summit's team showed up in matching white kimonos, except for Darius. He walked alone carrying a faded green duffel bag. In the locker room, he unzipped it and gently removed his uncle's GI, worn, patched, but honored. The dog tags clinked softly against the fabric. When the first fight was called, whispers filled the gym. Brian Carter versus Darius Miller. Same academy, but very different legacies. Carter protested, fumed, but the officials refused to budge. "This is the correct division," they said. "The match stands." The crowd gathered, phones ready. Carter stepped onto the mat, like a lion expecting to devour a cub. Darius bowed, precise and composed. The ref gave the signal. 14 seconds, that's all it took. A flawless hip throw and armbar so clean it made jaws drop. Carter slapped the mat in surrender. The silence in the room was louder than any cheer. Carter lay there, stunned. Darius stood unshaken, offering no smirk, no gloat, just silent certainty. The silence didn't last long. Carlos stepped forward from the crowd, flanked by Rachel holding a tablet. A video played grainy footage of a younger Carter spreading false rumors about Leon Brooks' steroid use after losing a championship match. The crowd shifted uncomfortably. The State Jiu-Jitsu Federation president stepped forward. "Mr. Carter, you'll attend a disciplinary hearing effective immediately. You've violated our code of ethics." The crowd filmed everything. Former students of Carter's, many of whom had quietly disappeared from the dojo, began to speak out. Social media caught fire. Videos of public humiliations, racial taunts, and emotional abuse surfaced within hours. Summit Academy's legacy crumbled faster than anyone expected. But Darius didn't revel in it. He walked out of the gym that day with the same quiet grace he entered with. The real victory wasn't in 14 seconds. It was in standing his ground when no one else believed in him and proving that integrity doesn't bend under pressure. Journalists called, sponsors reached out, top-tier academies dangled contracts in front of him. Darius said no to all of them. Instead, he returned to the basement gym with Carlos and Rachel. With newfound funding from supporters who saw the power of what had happened, they turned the space into Brooks Community Dojo, a sanctuary for kids like him, who couldn't afford elite facilities. They offered free classes, mentorship programs, meals after training. The mats weren't spotless. The walls still echoed with struggle, but the spirit was unbreakable. Months later, a thin man with hollow eyes stood at the entrance. Brian Carter. No longer the self-proclaimed champion, just a broken man. I could have sued you, he said quietly in Darius's office. For defamation, for conspiracy. You could have, Darius replied, but it wouldn't have stopped the truth. After a long silence, Carter said, "What mattered? Your uncle was better than me. Always was. I'm sorry." Darius studied him for a moment. "We're starting a program for veterans with PTSD. We need volunteers, not teachers, just hands." "Why would you let me do that?" Carter asked, almost in disbelief. "Because second chances must be earned," Darius answered, "not given." At the dojo's one-year anniversary, the community gathered kids from the neighborhood, young fighters from overlooked schools, veterans with aching knees but fresh hope. And in the back, Carter quietly set up mats, handed out water bottles, and guided families to their seats. No one pointed fingers, no one cheered, but they noticed. On the mat, under the soft overhead lights, Darius stood alone. He clutched his uncle's dog tags and whispered, "We did it." He wasn't the boy who had been mocked for his clothes, for his skin, for his quiet strength. He had become a living testament to what Jiu-Jitsu was always meant to be, not domination, but discipline, not aggression, but alignment of spirit, body, and mind. His students now came from everywhere. No one was turned away. No one was judged by their background, their GI, or their bank account. True strength, he told his students, isn't how fast you win a fight. It's how long you're willing to prepare for the moment that matters. The world remembered the 14 seconds, but he remembered everything that came before it and everything that came after. If this story moved you, if you believe in second chances, silent strength, and the power of character over ego, then you're in the right place. At Deep Inside HQ, we share real cinematic stories of unsung heroes who rise in moments no one expects. Subscribe now and join a growing community that celebrates courage, transformation, and truth. Don't just watch, listen, reflect, and share these voices with the world. Your support helps us keep telling stories that matter.